Hello everyone, Alexander here with an important update. As many of you know, Rasmus has been struggling with depression, and unfortunately, he's hit a tough patch again. Right now, he doesn't have the motivation to continue making videos. But don't worry, his hard-working crew, that's us, are stepping up to keep his legacy alive while he takes the time he needs to recover. We're committed to continuing where we left off, and we'll do our best to deliver the content you love. That said, we could really use your help. Scriptwriters, if you have a knack for storytelling, we love your assistance. Editors, if you're experienced or just willing to learn, let's chat. If neither of those are your strong suit, you can still contribute by sending us your Creepypasta episode ideas. If you're interested in helping out, feel free to reach out via private message. Your support means the world to us and to Rasmus. And we can't thank you enough. Stay awesome. Alexander, Jonathan, and Turner.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode on our channel. Today's episode is quite different from others we've made this far. This episode is based on 3 real-life kidnappings. The kidnappings of Abby Hernandez, Kara Robinson, and Elizabeth Fritz's case. Just a quick warning before we begin. It was 1979, and the 15-year-old girl Belle Pickenborch was getting ready for school. She tried descending down the stairs, met by her mother Felicia. She was in a hurry.
Good morning, sweetie. Pack all of your stuff now. I'm very late for work.
All right. Where's my bag?
Over there.
Belle picked up her backpack, and they jumped into the car.
So, you ready for your first day in 9th grade?
Not really.
You'll do great, honey. Just remember to keep your head up and be yourself. High school is tough, but you're tougher.
She nodded absent-mindedly, though her mind wandered elsewhere. There was a strange feeling in her gut, something she couldn't shake off. It wasn't just the usual first-day jitters. This felt different. As they approached the school, Belle's eyes were drawn to a car parked on the opposite side of the street. It was an old, beat-up sedan with tinted windows. Something about it seemed out of place, lingering just a bit too long. But before she could dwell on it, her mother pulled up to the school's entrance.
All right. Remember, sweetheart, don't let anyone ruin your day. All right? Stay positive.
Thanks, Mom.
She walked into the school. She took one last look back and saw the sedan still standing there. But she tried brushing it off and walked inside the school again. During the lunch break, Belle and her new secret boyfriend Robert sneaked out behind the school to hang out.
They didn't see a thing coming.
Yeah, I know. We totally blew their brains out.
They hung out a while, but then she still couldn't shake the feeling of that sedan she had seen earlier, but she tried playing it cool. As they laughed and continued their conversation, Belle's eyes kept drifting back toward the fence at the edge of the schoolyard where she had first seen the mysterious sedan. The uneasy feeling in her stomach only grew stronger, but she shrugged it off, convincing herself it was nothing, just a coincidence.
Hey, Belle. You okay? You seem a little distracted.
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know, maybe I'm just nervous about starting school again. It's nothing.
Robert gave her a reassuring smile, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. He didn't notice the way her eyes kept darting to the side, or the way her fingers twitched anxiously at the hem of her skirt. But Belle did. she noticed everything. When the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, Belle was almost relieved to head back inside. The noise and chaos of the hallways felt safer somehow, more familiar. As she and Robert parted ways, she glanced one last time toward the fence. The sedan was gone. For a moment, she felt a wave of relief wash over her, but deep down, the unease still lingered. Classes dragged on, and by the time the final bell rang, Belle was exhausted. She gathered her things, eager to get home and forget about the strange feeling that had haunted her all day. But as she stepped outside, her heart dropped. The sedan was back. This time, it was parked across the street from the school, just out of sight from most of the other students. The windows were tinted, making it impossible to see who was inside. Belle froze for a moment, her instincts screaming at her to run, but she decided to play it cool. Her teacher came outside, Mrs. Bitterweek.
Hey, Belle.
Yeah?
Your mother called earlier. She can't pick you up, so you'll have to walk home.
Oh, come on! Seriously?
Hey, don't look at me. I didn't decide it.
The teacher walked inside the school again, and Belle decided to walk. When she had come a bit into a field, on her way she saw the sedan stopping at the road. A man walked outside. He started walking kind of quickly towards her. Belle's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the man approach. He was tall, with a scruffy beard and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Something about him set off alarm bells in her head, but she didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe he was just lost, or maybe he was looking for someone else. But as he got closer, she could see the intensity in his gaze, and it was clear that he was focused on her.
Stay calm, Belle. Maybe he's just going to ask for directions.
She kept walking, trying to appear as casual as possible, but her pace quickened. The man was closing the distance between them faster than she had anticipated. Belle's breath hitched as she felt a sudden wave of panic. The path ahead of her was empty. No other students or adults in sight. She was alone.
Hey there! You heading home from school?
His voice was friendly, almost too friendly, and that made it even more unsettling. Belle hesitated, her mind racing to find an excuse to keep moving.
Yeah, I'm just on my way home. My house is right up the street, actually.
She hoped the lie would deter him, but the man didn't seem convinced. His smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating look that sent chills down Belle's spine.
How about I give you a ride? It's a long walk, and I've got some candy in the car. You look like you could use a little pick-me-up.
Belle's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs felt like they were made of lead. She forced a weak smile, shaking her head.
No, thank you. I'm almost home. My mom's expecting me.
The man's expression darkened, and without warning he lunged toward her, grabbing her mouth so she couldn't talk, scream, or breathe. He dragged her strangling body back to the sedan and threw her in the back seat. Everything turned black once the man handcuffed the poor 15-year-old girl and put a mask over her eyes. He started driving. The drive was long and bumpy. It was almost a 1-hour drive. But finally she was slung out of the car and dragged inside a house. The man tied her up to a bed inside, and there she was, stuck.
Hey, I know you're a bit terrified right now. You've got all the right to be. You can call me José. You know this is not gonna last forever. One day, I will release you. Stay a good girl and do as I please for the rest of the time you're here. As long as you don't try anything on me, I will not hurt you. Not with violence, at least. What's your name?
He glanced at her. She was crying, but didn't say anything.
Answer the question.
I'm... Belle.
Belle's heart pounded in her chest, her thoughts racing a mile a minute. The room was dimly lit, the only light coming from a small, cracked window near the ceiling. The walls were bare, with no sign of anything that could help her escape. She could feel the roughness of the ropes digging into her wrists and ankles, each movement sending a jolt of pain through her limbs. But that pain was nothing compared to the fear gnawing at her insides.
Look, Belle. I know this is hard for you, but if you cooperate, things will go much smoother. I'm not here to hurt you. At least, not if I don't have to.
Belle forced herself to stay silent, biting down on the inside of her cheek to stop the tears from falling. She couldn't show him fear. She wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Instead, she tried to focus on the details of the room, anything that could give her a clue about where she was or how to get out.
You must be hungry. I'll bring you something to eat soon. Just relax, okay? Everything will be fine.
As he walked out of the room, closing the door behind him with a soft click, Belle let out the breath she had been holding. The moment she was alone, her mind began to race even faster. There had to be a way out. There had to be something she could do. She tugged at the ropes binding her, testing their strength, but they held firm. Time seemed to stretch on endlessly in the dim room. Minutes felt like hours, and the silence was deafening. Belle's mind wandered back to the morning, to her mother, Felicia, who was likely frantic by now, calling the police and wondering where her daughter could be. Belle knew she had to stay strong, not just for herself, but her family. They would be looking for her. She just had to hold on until they found her. After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open again. José entered, holding a plate of food. He placed it on a small table beside the bed, not meeting Belle's eyes.
Eat.
Belle looked at the food, her stomach growling in response, but she hesitated, unsure of what to do. Could she trust him? She didn't know what he might have done to the food. José seemed to sense her hesitation.
It's not poisoned if that's what you're thinking. I need you alive, Belle. Eat.
Reluctantly, Belle took a bite. The food tasted bland, but it was enough to quell the hunger gnawing at her stomach. As she ate, José sat on a chair across the room, watching her intently. She could feel his eyes on her, and it made her skin crawl.
Why are you doing this, José?
José looked down at the floor.
That's a question I don't have an answer for at the moment.
That's when she got the brilliant idea. It didn't matter how long she would be there for, but she would act like she started to like him, and maybe, just maybe, if he believed it, he would let her go. Belle swallowed hard, wiping the tears from her eyes as a plan began to form in her mind. It was risky, but it might be her only chance. She couldn't overpower José, and there was no way she could escape with her hands and feet tied. But if she could make him believe that she was beginning to trust him, maybe, just maybe, she could manipulate him into letting his guard down.
José? You said this won't last forever. Do you really mean that?
José looked up, surprised by her sudden change in tone. He studied her face, trying to gauge if she was being sincere or just playing a game. But Belle's eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of fear and something else. Hope.
Yeah, I meant it. If you behave, if you do what I ask, one day I'll let you go. I promise.
Belle nodded slowly, her heart racing. She needed to keep him talking, needed to make him believe that she was starting to accept her fate, that she wasn't a threat to him.
Okay, I believe you. I want to believe you. It's hard, being here, not knowing what's going to happen, but if you really mean it, If you really let me go someday, I'll do what you ask.
Good, that's what I want to hear, Belle. Just don't try anything stupid, alright? As long as you stay calm, things will be easier for the both of us.
Belle forced a small smile, though it felt unnatural on her lips. She needed to keep playing this part, even though every fiber of her being screamed at her to fight, to run. But she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Not yet.
I'll check on you later. Just rest for now.
He didn't let her go. For the next 8 months was hell for Belle, needing to act like she was in love with this man. And the things he did to her will be left unspoken, but it will be more clear later in the story. He kept telling her that she would be released one day, but as the days passed by, she believed it less and less. He had locked her inside the room. She could roam around as much as she'd like, but she was never allowed outside of the room. Until the next day, José walked into the room.
Hey, Belle. I have been thinking. As it is right now, you're stuck here for a while. So, I would like to let you live together with me in the house. And I'll let you write a letter to your family. But remember, I will read every single letter in the letter. So don't try anything.
Belle's heart skipped a beat at José's words. Was this her chance? She had to be careful. She couldn't show any sign of hope, any indication that she might try to manipulate this situation to her advantage. She nodded slowly, forcing a small, grateful smile to her lips.
Thank you, José. That would mean a lot to me.
Remember what I said. I will read everything. If you try to sneak in a message or anything that makes me suspicious, you won't like what happens.
Belle nodded again, swallowing the lump in her throat. She couldn't let him see her fear. She had to stay calm, composed. She took the pen and began to write, carefully choosing her words. She knew her family would be desperate for any sign of life from her, but she couldn't afford to be reckless. José would see through anything too obvious. The letter read,
Dear Mom, I know you're probably worried sick about me. I'm okay, for now. I'm trying to stay strong and do what I need to do to get through this. I miss you all so much, and I hope we can be together again soon. Please tell Robert that I'm thinking about him every day. I need you to know that I'm doing everything I can to survive. I love you all, more than anything. Love, Belle.
Belle hesitated before signing her name. She didn't know if her family would be able to read between the lines, but she hoped that the mention of Robert, her secret boyfriend, would catch their attention. Maybe they'd realize she was trying to send a message. Maybe they'd understand that she was still fighting. She handed the letter to José, her hand trembling slightly as she did. He took it, scanning the words carefully. For a moment, Belle held her breath, waiting for his reaction.
This is good. I'll send it. But remember, Belle, don't give me a reason to doubt you.
He stood up and left the room, locking the door behind him. Belle exhaled slowly, her mind racing. She had no idea if her letter would make it to her family, or if they would be able to decipher her hidden message. All she could do now was wait and hope. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of forced normalcy. José allowed Belle to move around the house, but she was never left unsupervised. He kept a close eye on her, always watching, always waiting for her to make a mistake. But Belle remained careful. She played her part, acting as if she had accepted her new life. She knew it was her only chance. Then, one evening, something changed. José came home later than usual, his face tense and his movements erratic. He didn't speak much, only muttering to himself as he paced around the living room. Belle watched him from the corner of the room, her heart pounding in her chest. Something had shifted. She could feel it in the air.
Belle, there's been some trouble. I need you to stay quiet, okay? No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, stay in your room and don't make a sound.
Belle's pulse quickened. What kind of trouble was he talking about? Was someone coming? Had her letter made it to her family? Or had the police finally found her? But she nodded, keeping her expression neutral.
Okay, José, I promise.
He looked at her for a long moment, as if searching for any sign of deception. Then he turned and walked out of the room, locking the door behind him as usual. Belle waited until she heard his footsteps fade down the hallway before she sprang into action. This was it. This was her chance. She had no idea what was happening, but she couldn't afford to wait any longer. The fear that had gripped her for months was now overshadowed by a burning determination. She had to get out. Belle began to search the room frantically, looking for anything she could use to escape. She knew she had little time, and whatever had José on edge could be her only opportunity. That's when two men stormed the room. They were suited up and held two guns to their hands. They were SWAT forces.
Oh, dear lullaby. It's the missing child.
Please, help me! I've been locked in here for over 9 months!
Whoa. Calm down, sweetheart. Shh. He's calm. You're safe. Okay?
Belle collapsed into the officer's arms, her body trembling as the weight of the past 9 months crashed down on her all at once. The relief she felt was overwhelming, but it was tinged with disbelief. After so long, it was hard to accept that this nightmare was finally over. The officers moved quickly, checking the house for any signs of danger and ensuring that José was in custody. Belle watched from the safety of the officer's embrace, her mind still reeling from the sudden turn of events.
You're gonna be okay, alright, Belle? You're gonna be okay. You're safe now. We're gonna get you out of here, take you back to your family.
As they escorted her outside of the house, Belle blinked against the harsh sunlight, her eyes adjusting to the world she had longed to see for what felt like an eternity. The house, which had been her prison, stood behind her, an ordinary-looking home hiding the horrors she had endured. The air outside was crisp, a breeze a reminder that she was free. But even as the officers led her to a waiting ambulance, Belle couldn't help but feel the lingering weight of everything that had happened. The world outside hadn't changed, but she had. She would never be the same girl who had walked into school that morning 9 months ago. The scars José had left on her weren't just physical, they ran deep, burrowing inside her mind and soul. In the days that followed, Belle was reunited with her mother, Felicia, who held her daughter as though she would never let go again. The police and media swarmed, eager to tell the story of the brave young girl who had survived months of captivity. But Belle wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. The words were too raw. The memories too painful.
Mom, I don't know how to feel. I'm free, but it's like part of me is still back there, in that room.
I know, sweetheart. I can't imagine what you've been through. But you're strong, Belle. You're here, and that means you fought your way through something unimaginable. We'll get through this together.
But the nightmare was not yet over. A doctor told Belle that she was pregnant. She was now 16, and pregnant from a guy she absolutely didn't want to have a child with. 3 months passed by, and finally they revealed more information about José. Or, yeah, that wasn't even his real name. But they finally read an article about him. His full name, relations, his doom, what made him, his kids, and more. I will read a letter to you all right now.
Title: Shocking details revealed in case of captured kidnapper. The truth behind Carlos Martinez. By Rasmus Skog. Date: August 20th, 1980. In a case that has shocked and horrified the nation, the man known as Carlos Martinez, infamously dubbed José by his victims, has been unveiled as a deeply troubled individual with a sordid past. Martinez, who was arrested 3 months ago after holding a young girl captive for 9 months, has finally been exposed as a criminal with a history of violent offenses and a life shrouded in deception. A life of crime. Carlos Martinez, 42, led a life marred by criminal activity. His actions spanning over 2 decades. Despite numerous run-ins with the law, Martinez managed to evade substantial justice for years. His criminal record includes a disturbing array of offenses, from petty theft and assault to more serious violent crimes. Authorities have revealed that Martinez frequently used aliases and false identities, making him a ghost in the eyes of the law enforcement. His most recent and egregious crime involved the kidnapping of 15-year-old Belle Pickenborcht. Martinez abducted Pickenborcht on her first day of 9th grade, holding her captive in a secluded house where he inflicted both physical and psychological trauma for 9 months. Pickenborcht endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of Martinez, who manipulated and threatened her while maintaining a facade of calm. A web of deception. Martinez's ability to stay hidden was attributed to his meticulous efforts to conceal his true identity. According to investigators, Martinez frequently changed his appearance and used different names, making it nearly impossible for authorities to track him down. His capture came after a tip from an unrelated case led detectives to cross-reference records, ultimately linking Martinez to a series of unsolved crimes. Family and associates. The article also sheds light on Martinez's family life, revealing a background as troubling as his own actions. His children, who were placed into protective custody following his arrest, and lived in relative ignorance of their father's crimes. Martinez's spouse, who was unaware of his criminal activities, has been cooperating with authorities and is now seeking support to rebuild her life and that of her children. The investigation. The investigation into Martinez's activities was a painstaking process. Detectives pieced together evidence from multiple sources, including surveillance footage, forensic analysis, and witness testimonies. Their diligent work led to the discovery of the house where Pickenborcht was held and ultimately to Martinez's arrest. The breakthrough came after a critical piece of evidence linked him to the location where Pickenborcht was found. A community in shock. The arrest of Carlos Martinez has left the community reeling. Belle Pickenborcht's case drew national attention, with citizens expressing their outrage and sorrow for the young girl's ordeal. The relief that Pickenborcht is now safe is tempered by the chilling knowledge of the horrors she endured. Court proceedings and sentencing. In court, Carlos Martinez faced a barrage of charges, including kidnapping, false imprisonment, and multiple counts of assault. His trial was a highly publicized event, drawing national attention as the full extent of his crimes was laid bare. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the prolonged suffering of Belle Pickenborcht and The intricate web of deceit Martinez had spun. Martinez was found guilty on all counts, the judge taking into account the severity of his crimes and the impact on the victim. Sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The court's decision was met with widespread relief, marking the end of a long and painful chapter for Belle and her family. Moving forward, Belle Pickenborch, now reunited with her family, faces a long road to recovery. The emotional and psychological scars left by her captivity will require extensive support and therapy. As she begins the process of healing, the community remains steadfast in its support, rallying around her and advocating for her stronger protections for victims of similar crimes. Carlos Martinez remains in custody awaiting trial for his numerous offenses as the legal system prepares to bring him to justice. The focus now shifts to supporting the victims and ensuring that such tragedies are prevented in the future. For those seeking to follow Belle's journey or to contribute to her support, updates will be provided as the legal proceedings continue. The story of Carlos Martinez serves as a stark reminder of the need for vigilance and compassion in the face of such profound adversity. For further information, please contact Trivia Podcast Productions. The end.
No boundary border, no boundary border. I contented your drinking eyes never open. I insist somebody will die and I hate hoping. Wishing that the pills let you cry and I hate coping. Someday I will go back outside and see her okay. I contented your drinking eyes never open. I insist somebody will die and I hate hoping. Wishing that the pills let you cry and I hate hoping. Someday I will go back outside.